All right.
There we go.
Here we go. Okay, awesome. So I will share my screen and then we can start. All right, so welcome everyone to the second day of the WOW Physics Conference. It's great that you are all here, and I think we have a very exciting program for you today. Just a few reminders about how the setup here works. What we have is a special Zoom webinar format. This means you can see our plenary speakers and the chairs of the sessions as in the gallery view. They are our panelists. All other participants who are here are attendees. This means if you're an attendee, you cannot unmute yourself, but we have to do it for you. Still, you can interact with us, and we would like to encourage you to post questions in the Q&A panel on Zoom. And you find the Q&A panel if you are in the Zoom app. Just look at the bottom. There should be this Q&A panel. And if you have a question, please put it there and we will read it and ask it to our plenary speakers. What we also have activated for now is that you can vote for questions. So if you like the question that somebody else asks, you can give a thumbs up and you can promote this question to the top so that we see which questions are most interesting for you. So please make use of this Q&A panel. It's your possibility to interact with our speakers and ask the questions you always want to ask them. That's how the Zoom room works in very brief. Oops. And I will stop sharing now and hand over to my colleague Phyllis Mania, Dr. Phyllis Mania from Elements, who will chair the first session Beyond Academia. Please, Phyllis.
Thank you. Yes, so welcome everyone to the second day. After the many amazing scientific talks we heard yesterday, we will start this day with a session we called Beyond Academia. We have two guests who will take us on a tour beyond the world of physics, and we can get a glimpse into what is possible outside of the lab. And I would really like to welcome Professor Dr. Dorothee Weber-Bruhls and Dr. Pranoti Kshirsagar, who joined us today and to tell us a bit about what they do. Both of them have a PhD in physics, but are venturing different areas now, I should say. We will start with Pranoti, and I will introduce Professor Weber-Bruhls in more detail later. So Pranoti has a PhD in applied physics and is currently working for, or is working as a senior product manager for Springer Nature here in Germany. But more so, she is the founder of the Science Talk that runs under the slogan, making science accessible, one video at a time. It's a project to empower scientists, communicate their science through various formats. And the idea is to showcase the human side of research. So shining a spotlight on scientists and their research. So today she will focus on how to build your brand as a scientist on Twitter, and we are very excited to hear it. Pranoti, there you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Phyllis, for that amazing introduction. It was a surprise for me for sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second day of this wonderful conference. Could someone confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Excellent. Because yeah, there we go. The pictures are there. So, hi, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the WOW Physics Conference. It is quite an interesting conference. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, and a special shout out to Laura and her team and Phyllis and Tamara and everyone for organizing this amazing virtual event. I am quite excited about it. I enjoyed it quite a lot yesterday, and I'm looking forward to today and tomorrow. All right. Let's get started with today's session. My name is Pranoti, and I'm here to help you build your brand on Twitter. What does that mean? So, sorry. Yeah, there we go. So what are we going to cover today? we will start with a snapshot of my Twitter journey. And after that, we will focus entirely on you as a scientist, you as a brand. What is your equation with Twitter? We will start with that, and then we will get into optimizing your Twitter profile. What are the do's and don'ts, and what are the must-haves for your Twitter profile? We will also get into the different types of Twitter accounts because there are more than one. And then we will get into the content crafting for science communication. So that's what we will do. So what kind of content you can create and how to package it in a way that is most attractive for your audiences online. So in the digital world. Everything you will learn today is the highlights version of a 90-minute workshop that we offer for boosting your boosting your Twitter presence as a scientist. So if I'm rushing through the slides, it's mainly to be in time and not go over my time. And before we get started, I also want to emphasize that everything you will learn today can be implemented for any social media channel. So it's not just for Twitter, it can also be used for Instagram, LinkedIn, Mastodon, TikTok, whatever, whichever social media platform you want to communicate your science on, anywhere and everywhere. This is essentially your starter pack if you want to establish your brand in the digital world. All righty, who am I? As Phyllis mentioned, I have a PhD in applied physics. I'm one of you. My Twitter journey started back in 2010 with tweets like, hey, I'm drinking coffee, hey, I'm watching this movie, and all that. In 2017 is when sorry about the mouse, it keeps disappearing on me. There we go, I found it. Okay, so in 2017, this was like about halfway through my PhD is when I finally started communicating science on Twitter as a material scientist. And then 2 years after that, I launched a Twitter account dedicated to materials and nanoscience and scientists. And I'm very proud of this one as we recently completed 3 years with over 3,000 organic followers. And we also have a podcast and all of that. So, but I'm not going to get into that. What I will share with you is basically all my learnings from my personal experience of being on Twitter for 12 odd years, and also closely observing the 100+ materials and nanoscientists that have taken over the Real Scientist Nano Twitter account. And all of those learnings I'm sharing with you today. All right, enough about me. Let's start with understanding your equation with Twitter. And as I mentioned earlier, this is not just about Twitter. This can be implemented for any of the social media platforms. All right, so what is your equation with Twitter is very important in order to define your brand, you as a person or you as a research group or you as a department, whatever it is. Which category resonates with you? Are you a lurker or a contributor? Are you a sprinter or a marathoner? And please know that there is no right or wrong answer here, but finding your equation with Twitter is crucial. So let's go through these 4 quadrants one by one, starting with the lurker. And I'm very proud of these pictures, especially the lurker one. That is just, I had to laugh when I found that one. All right, so lurker is rarely tweeting or engaging, but is actively consuming content on Twitter. A contributor is someone who is consuming the content, but is also tweeting and engaging on a regular basis. Also important to consider if you want to be a sprinter or a marathoner. A sprinter is tweeting irregularly. On the other hand, a marathoner is active on Twitter on a regular basis. So just as an example, a sprinter might spend 2 hours on Twitter for 5 days. So that brings them to 10 hours in total. And a marathoner spends the same amount of time, so let's say 10 hours, over a course of 40 days, by spending quarter of an hour every day. So 15 minutes per day for 40 days, 10 hours. The time spent on Twitter, creating content, consuming content, whatever it is the same, but the frequency is different. The styles are different between sprinters and marathoners. And as I mentioned earlier, there is no right or wrong, okay? What's crucial is for you to find your equation with Twitter. This is extremely important to understand and realize and then implement. And it's also important to remember that you can be flexible. Maybe you're a lurker now, but you can be a contributor. Maybe you're a sprinter now, you can be a marathoner, and the other way around. So today's session is most relevant for contributors of both kinds, so sprint and marathon. Today's session is also interesting for lurkers to find the dark alleys of Twitter, or let's say science alleys of Twitter. So there is something for everyone in this, but more inclined towards the contributors and marathoners and sprinters. All right, let's get cracking. Get your pens and papers ready because there is a lot of information coming your way. All right. Okay, so starting with the different types of Twitter accounts. I mentioned earlier, there are more than one type of Twitter account. The first one is a good old personal account. So there is a person behind this account or a scientist behind this account. So it's run by a scientist. It's run by one human being, or let's say, yeah, one scientist. The second one is a group account, a group representing a research group or a department or a conference committee or university or a society or journal, any and everything. So this is basically not representing one person, but it is representing a group. That's the second kind of Twitter account. And of course, our conference host definitely have a group account. And the third one, and this is a unique one for Twitter, it's very special or specific for Twitter. It's called a guest or a rotation account. What's a rotation account, you ask? I'll tell you what it is. Bear with me. So basically, a rotation account is an account where a new person takes over the Twitter account on a regular basis. The frequency can be different. It can vary from the concept to concept, so account to account. So for example, on Real Scientist Nano, which is the account that we created, every week we have a new materials and nanoscientist taking over the account for 1 week and talking about their research. Okay, they talk about their research, their life, their experiences, everything basically. So yeah, that's the very unique kind of a rotation sort of an account, and there are several of these. There is, of course, the Real Scientist Nano. There is, of course, the Real Scientist, the parent account. There is also a German version of Real Scientist called Real Sci_DE. There is also I Am SciComm account. There is another one called I Am SciArt or something like that. They recently brought it back to life. So yeah, that's the third kind of account, so the guest account or a rotation account. All right, so by this point, you know your equation. You have figured out your equation with Twitter and the type of account you want to start for your own personal brand. Now let's optimize your Twitter profile. Okay, 3 must-haves in your Twitter profile. A complete profile, which includes a profile and a header picture, bio, your website, and open DMs. The last one is optional, and we'll talk about it in a bit. Starting with a picture. So your profile picture and the header picture is the first thing people will see when they land on your account, when they land on your profile, basically. So this is your first impression. So highly recommend to have a nice profile picture, and our conference host's profile picture or the profile is a very good example. You see the people, you know what it is all about. So yeah, that's a very good example. So profile plus a header picture is very important. Bio tells them tells the visitor what or who you are. So you can add your scientific training here. And in addition to that, if you want to add a human touch, you can also add, I don't know, pet mom or a runner or a chef or whatever you want. So your hobbies and what you enjoy in your leisure time, basically. You can add that, highly recommended that as well. Then comes the website. So website is very important. If you don't have your own website or your group does not have its own website, please direct them to either your LinkedIn or Instagram or anywhere where the visitor can find more information about you and your science. That's very, very important. So website is one. And also, if your DMs are closed, website is the way the visitor can contact you. And it is really frustrating. I'm telling you this from my personal experience. It's really frustrating to find ways to contact interesting people, especially at conferences where all of you are at the conference, but the DMs are closed or that person does not have a website. So basically the door is completely shut. So that's why I highly recommend opening the DMs. In my past 12 years on Twitter, I rarely received questionable DMs, but maybe I just got lucky. I don't know. But hey, it's your choice. If you want to open the DMs, open the DMs. If not, leave them closed. Second important must-have is an appropriate handle. A handle is basically your name in the Twitterverse. I don't know if we still call it Twitterverse. Never mind. Okay, handle is very important. It should be easy to spell and easy to remember. And if you change the handle in the future, it means that you lose association with the content you had up until that point. So it's very important to choose your handle wisely. Third, and also very important thing, which is something a lot of people miss, that is the pinned tweet. You can pin a tweet to your profile or to your feed. So after the profile, the bio, the website, the first content piece that the visitor sees is your pinned tweet. And you can add anything in there, whatever you want, a paper, a shout out, a conference, anything at all. And you can also change this pinned tweet on a regular basis if you want. All right, your profile is set. Now let's talk about crafting the science communication content and starting with what to tweet about. What all can you tweet about? You can tweet about everything, any and everything. You can talk about day-to-day life as a scientist, and every scientist, I believe at least, every scientist has, no two scientists have the same day-to-day life. I believe that. So you can do this, a day in a scientist's life on a weekly basis, monthly basis, quarterly basis, whatever you like. You can talk about your publications and your collaborations. In addition to talking just about your publications, you can also talk about the papers or scientific articles that you are reading, which don't belong to you, but you find them interesting. You can always share that, hey, I like this part in this paper. The third idea is the current projects, of course, the research projects or the projects from the past. Twitter does not have to be, or your content does not have to be just about what's happening today. You can also talk about the research you did 10 years ago. It's fine, 5 years ago, whatever you want. It's research, science, you can talk about it. You can tweet about it. You can write about it. In addition to the science itself, you can also talk about how it is like to be a scientist. What is your research experience? What is it like to publish a paper? What is it like to be a traveling scientist? What is it like to apply for a research grant? Basically, any and everything that is not just doing research in the lab. You can talk about that. You can also talk about how you would like to improve it. For me personally, when I was an active researcher, for me, it was really important to highlight diversity and inclusion. That was something which I was missing around me. So I was heavily tweeting about that. I was heavily engaging with the content, supporting diversity and inclusion. Sixth idea, so to say, is conferences. You can talk about the conferences you're attending, webinars, project meetings. You can also tweet about the food. Sometimes the food at conferences is really good, and people like to hear that, so that other conferences will also start having really good food. You can also tweet about that. Last two ideas. How is it like to work in Germany? For me, Germany, because I'm living in Germany. You can tweet about how it is like to work in, I don't know, Florida. And how is it different from your home country, or how is it different from the previous lab you were in? So talk about that, share that. And the eighth and the last one is your research and weighing in on topics you're passionate about. So as I mentioned, I'm passionate about diversity and inclusion. So I heavily talk about that. I heavily support this kind of content. So yeah, these are just some of the ideas, of course, of what you can talk about. And the bottom line is just put the content out. People are following you. People are on Twitter to consume the content, to know more about your science, about you as a scientist. So tell them whatever you are comfortable with sharing. All right, we have what the content should be. Now let's talk about how to tweet, how to craft this content, because having content is one thing, packaging it is another thing. That is also very important. So this slide is talking about packaging, okay? How to write or put your content out there. If you have your characters more than 280, which is the limit for one tweet, then you can also go for this format on Twitter called threads. So this is more like a storytelling sort of a thing. So if it's a thread, then within a thread, one tweet appears after the other. So let's say you have 10 tweets which tell a story. So you can use the Twitter thread to put your content out. You can also use the thread concept for record keeping. For example, if you start a research project on the 10th of November, maybe a check-in after a week or a month or 3 months saying that, hey, remember you started this project, here is the progress. Whatever you are allowed to share, of course. Don't share things which will break your NDA. Don't do that. Content we already spoke about, trends. Okay, so in today's world, some or the other thing is always trending. Okay, so just jump on those trend wagons. For example, hashtags or pictures or GIFs or whatever. Some or the other thing is always trending, and that includes Twitter. So just jump on those trends wagons, because this is also a good opportunity for you to keep those wheels moving in your brain. Use hashtags, tag accounts, engage with the tweets, engage with the topics that you are passionate about. And also, last but not least, use as many graphics as you're comfortable with. I am a visual person, and for me, graphics is an amazing way to convey the message I want to convey. All right, last slide. A few learnings on one slide, yeah? Consistency is key. Find your pace, make it a routine, and stick to it, all right? Strong ethics are very important. This is not optional. Sorry, if you're a scientist, having strong ethics is not optional. You have the responsibility to put good, reliable, trustworthy content out there. So take responsibility for the content you create and your associations as well. This is not just for the scientific papers. It also goes in the digital world, including social media platforms. Okay. Third is polish your skills. Keep reinventing yourself. Keep trying new things. Keep pushing those boundaries for yourself, because it's quite a lot of fun. It can be uncomfortable, but hey, we are here to have fun. Which brings me to my last point. Make sure you're having fun. If you're not having fun on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, or wherever, don't do it. Really, life is hard enough. We don't need another to-do action item for us. So make sure you're having fun. You have to have fun so that your followers will have fun. All right? And with that, I want to leave you with this wonderful quote that I like, which says, tiptoe if you want, but take that step. You can get in touch with me on Twitter, on my email address, talktosciencetalk@gmail.com. And you can also join the mailing list by scanning this QR code. As part of the mailing list, you will meet a new scientist, a new scientific concept on a regular basis. And you will also be updated as to our upcoming workshops and behind the scenes of running a science communication platform. And with that, thank you very much. And Phyllis, I hope I was in time. I did not go over time. Happy to answer questions now, if there are any.
Thank you so much. I'm going to do a silent applause. I don't know if people know that. We can do a visual applause too. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Yep. Well, we have that 1 minute extra, I think. So I didn't want to interrupt. That's fine. But we can open the floor to questions. So if you have any questions, then please use the Q&A panel you find on the bottom of your Zoom and type in a question if you have one. We have a few minutes for that. I just have to say, I really had to hold back not to go start checking my Twitter if I did all the things correctly that you said.
Yeah, this is not to scare anyone. This is just like, remember, these things are, these little things make a difference. It's very important. All right, I think everything was clear for everyone.
Yeah, okay. We have a few questions coming in. The first question, which I find very interesting, is can you start your Twitter brand even as an undergrad student?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Most definitely, yes. That's actually a very good opportunity because then you can basically start from almost 0 point, because most of the academics on Twitter, they either start during the master's or PhD or postdoc or group leader positions. So undergrad's point of view is definitely interesting. So yes, you can start as undergrad as well.
Thank you. And then there are two related questions. The first is how to get followers on Twitter. And I think the other one directly links to that, at least in my mind. Yasmin asked, I was wondering whether it is detrimental to follow many more people than having followers. So maybe you can get into that.
Yeah, so the first question is about how to get more followers. Yes, for that, I actually wanted to include that as well, but there was no time. There are multiple ways to get more followers. Well, not get more followers. I mean, of course, there are paid ways, but if you want to do it organically, it takes time. It definitely takes time. It comes with engaging with the content, putting out content on a regular basis and tagging the accounts and making sure you're featuring on your university or your affiliation social media channels and other channels, like, for example, the Real Scientist Nano Twitter account. That is a great way for you to get followers. There are multiple other things, but I don't want to take too much time. But yeah, do get in touch and we will keep you posted about the next time we have the workshop on Boost Your Twitter, and there will take a deeper dive into how to grow your network on Twitter. The second question was, is it detrimental to have more followers than following? More following than followers? No, it's not. It really is not. You can be following 50 people with 5 followers, that's fine. As long as you put good content out, as long as you engage and promote good content from other people, it doesn't matter how many accounts you're following and how many accounts are following you. So that ratio is not really a big thing. It only clutters your feed. So yeah.
Well, yeah, at some point you will need more time to read what's happening, but I think the time when one was able to look at your whole timeline has long gone. At least for me it has. Okay, thank you so much. We'll now switch to our second panelist of this session, Professor Dr. Dorothee Weber-Bruls, who is a patent attorney at Jones Day, where she heads the physical patent